Hello YouTube, this is DVD Review Studios here, and today I'm going to be doing my Christmas haul video for 2019, which I do apologise for this being a couple of days late. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get this uploaded in 2019, so Happy New Year to all my fellow viewers and subscribers, of course, and I hope everybody did enjoy the festivities. So, without further ado, let's go through the Christmas haul, and I'll begin with the Blu-rays and DVDs as always. So starting off this whole video with the Blu-rays and the DVDs, of course, first up is Season 2 of Westworld, The Door, which, to be honest, Season 2 of Westworld I liked, but I was honestly feeling a little bit let down with some of the elements included with this season. That was really personal preference, if anything, I suppose, with some things, but I think with how well received the first season was, Season 2 certainly did have a lot to live up to, and that's where, at least for my sake at least, the expectations did fall a little bit. But overall, for a second season, I thought this was very well put together and was quite surprising in some areas, especially with the character of Robert Ford that Anthony Hopkins portrays. And the company of Delos certainly dives a little bit deeper into the lore of what is Westworld in this second season. So there's the front cover design, which I think is gorgeous overall. I would love a print of this particular poster art style, with the robotic, cybernetic vulture, along with the hat of the Man in Black, Ed Harris's character, which I think is a phenomenal character from this series. So there you go, there's some of the inside artwork, and it is a 3-disc Blu-ray set, rated A15 here in the UK, and that's the episode guide that's just slipped out there. And yeah, for sure, I will be discussing my thoughts on this second season in an upcoming video review on the channel, so stay tuned for that. Next up is the 7th season of Arrow, which Arrow definitely went in a very interesting direction in the 6th season, especially the finale, which I guess I'll spoil, I suppose, since it has been a couple of years since the 6th season of this show. Basically, at the end of season 6, Oliver gets arrested and outed as the Green Arrow vigilante, which definitely put a spanner in the works for a lot of the characters, especially, obviously, Oliver Queen himself. And so this begins the season with Oliver Queen as the character of Inmate 4587. And overall, this season definitely took things to new heights, new levels. Certainly a lot more new interesting characters introduced in this season, as well as a couple of throwbacks to some of the older ones as well. And the lore of the Arrowverse does definitely get challenged in quite a few episodes, which I found to be quite impressive and more so engaging, if anything, just to add a little bit more spice to a show that I honestly thought was dying around season 4. So yeah, overall, for 24 episodes, this was very well put together, in my opinion, very enjoyable, and just great sort of binge-watchable television. So that is my thoughts on Season 7 of Arrow. Next up, we have a couple of Marvel movies. We have Spider-Man Far From Home, which is, funnily enough, still sealed in the shrink wrap. I have seen the movie. I did go and see this in the cinema, and I really, really did enjoy it. The character of Mysterio was everything I wanted him to be and a lot more. And the post-credit scene was definitely something I was kind of sort of anticipating, with a final twist from Mysterio, and the twist itself was very satisfying, to say the least, especially with the character of J. Jonah Jameson being brought back, especially the same actor from the Tobey Maguire trilogy. So that was definitely a nice touch, and definitely a movie that I would recommend checking out if you're a fan of the Homecoming film. Next up is Avengers Endgame, the obligatory second part and conclusion to Infinity War. Which, to be honest, obviously this movie was very as expected and quite on the nose in some areas, but overall I thought it was quite enjoyable. I did find, however, that unfortunately it's not as rewatchable as I would have hoped. I did find the same thing with Infinity War, but not as badly as Endgame. But nonetheless, this movie basically fixes everything, makes it so that the ending isn't that the villain wins, which is my favourite thing about Infinity War, and sometimes I kind of wish it just ended there, and these 20-odd movies had all been for nothing, but that's the cynicism in me, I suppose. But getting back to more serious topics, the film in itself I thought was very well structured, and obviously had a lot of fan service for the many fans that had followed the movie since 2008. And I was very pleasantly surprised by a lot of the references included in here, especially some of the stuff relating and leaning more towards the Thor movies, which seem to be the most unpopular of the Marvel movies for sure. So I'm kind of glad in a way that they got touched upon quite heavily, and it kind of retconned a couple of things and made things a little bit more enjoyable just looking back on those movies. That is for sure. And as far as the time travel storyline is concerned, it was bound to happen, but I think it was used and utilized quite well. And it was great to see the characters such as Ebony Maw and the other children of Thanos, basically 4 or 5 years before the events of Infinity War, before they've even gone ahead and basically tracked down the Infinity Stones for themselves and discover this alternate sort of future that they create, having not known that they do create it and are responsible for it. I thought that was overall very well put together and was honestly my favourite aspect of this movie. So that is Avengers Endgame. I might do a review on it in the near future, maybe review all 4 Avengers movies in one video. Who knows? If you want to see that, by all means, drop a request down below in the comments. Next up we have Get Out, which was directed by Jordan Peele and is a movie that I have looked into watching. I just didn't really have the interest to do so. So a friend literally just bought me a copy of the movie to watch on Blu-ray, which was very nice of them. So I'll be sure to check this out at some point very soon. I'll probably include it in a future Blu-ray and DVD update just to talk about it properly. But I really am quite intrigued to check this out, and I would also like to check out the other the movie directed by Jordan Peele, which was Us, I believe, which is also getting very good reviews as well. So I'll be sure to hopefully check that out if I enjoyed this as much as I'm hoping to do so. So that is Get Out. Next up is Toy Story 4, which I thought was a very unnecessary sequel, and arguably I would say shouldn't have been called Toy Story 4 as such. I don't know what it would have been retitled to, but I would have liked this as possibly an optional movie to go forward with, or possibly even the start of a new trilogy of named Toy Story movies, so then these characters can still be utilized, but obviously we would still have our closure of the 3 Toy Story trilogy style movies. That's just my thoughts overall, but as far as the movie itself is concerned, I liked it. Not my favourite Toy Story movie by any stretch of the imagination, but certainly not a bad movie, that's for sure. I loved the new characters such as Ducky and Bunny, Giggle McDimples, Forky of course, Duke Kaboom. Overall some quite memorable new characters, even though they definitely overshadowed the original cast, which is my biggest flaw with this movie aside from what I just mentioned in regards to this being an optional movie that you could watch if you wanted to carry on with the Toy Story films. I might do a review of this one. I might do a comparison video of how this movie holds up in comparison to the other 3 movies, but there you go. So that is Toy Story 4. And last up for the Blu-rays, another sort of kiddie movie, and that is the Lego Movie 2, which I really enjoyed the first Lego movie to my surprise, so I thought it would be a great opportunity to grab the second film, which was reduced to only about £3 or £4 on Amazon, brand new and sealed, so I thought that was a great deal for sure. And I thought this actually had some quite hilarious sort of adult sort of humour throughout. I loved the Mad Max stuff at the very beginning. That was very creative, and I kind of wish it kept that creative flow throughout the film. But unfortunately it kind of stuck to its guns as a musical, simply I suppose for the enjoyment of children, which is absolutely fine. That's the main demographic of this movie. But as an adult fan of Lego, I kind of wish this had gone for a little bit more of an adult take on things, which it definitely could have, and did utilize sort of a very censored style adult humor that Invader Zim, as an example, often takes into account, and I kind of like that sort of filter when it comes to sort of subtle adult humor hidden in children's television or movies. But yeah, great animation, phenomenal storytelling, and was overall quite a good film. So that's the Lego Movie 2. Couple of DVDs now. First up is Four Lines, directed by Christopher Morris, which this movie I've wanted to watch for many years and have been recommended to watch this for quite a number of years, funnily enough. And I thought it was okay. It wasn't really what I was expecting, to be perfectly honest with you. It's basically a satire movie about some Pakistani Muslims living in Britain who take the terrorism idea very, very literally, and it's a very dark satirical comedy about terrorists being bad at being terrorists. And I thought that concept was definitely quite unnerving in some areas, and definitely was something that was quite unexplored in media, that's for sure. But in regard to the satire, obviously with the main story, which was quite minimal, of having these characters taking the stereotypes so literally of how quite a lot of British people seem to perceive the faith of Islam, and how basically sort of acting upon that stereotype, they were trying to prove people wrong in a sense, but in a way prove them right by basically being so incompetent with what they were doing. And I think that as a satire was definitely very well explored. I really want to read into this movie a lot further, just in case there are any subliminal messages that I am missing that obviously would have a heavy context to this kind of film. But as a dark comedy, I thought this was very well executed. The scene where the character trips over the sheep in the field and boom, that had me in absolute hysterics to the point where I had to pause the movie. That was my absolute favourite moment in this film. And yeah, perhaps I'll do a review on this movie at some point. Who knows? I just thought it was an okay satire film, and the comedy was definitely its strong points, and that is Four Lions. And finally, for DVDs, we have Dead Man's Shoes, which is a Shane Meadows movie. I've actually been getting into quite a lot of Shane Meadows cinema in recent months. You'll see that in some of the upcoming Blu-ray and DVD updates, which are backlogged slightly. This movie I haven't seen yet, but I'm very much looking forward to doing so, since I've heard extremely good things about it. And Paddy Considine is one of my favourite British actors. So yeah, I'm hoping this will be very, very good. So check out my upcoming Blu-ray and DVD update to hear my thoughts on this movie. So now let's move on to the random other stuff. So moving on to the random other stuff, as I term it, this segment of the video basically includes my other hobbies and interests, which include Lego, which is mainly Star Wars, some vinyl collectible figures, and some books as well. So let's begin with the books. Couple of books now, which are of course Star Wars related, the first of which is Master and Apprentice by Claudia Gray, which this book came out, I believe, at the beginning of 2019, and I was quite intrigued to get hold of it. It sounded quite good in terms of the premise, with this taking place before the events of the Phantom Menace movie, so I thought this would be quite intriguing, really, to delve into the backstory of not only Qui-Gon Jinn as a character, but really his relationship with Obi-Wan as his Padawan, so I'm intrigued to check this out whenever I can. Next up is the Thrawn novel sequel, at least of the recent novels, disregarding the Thrawn trilogy, which is now considered Legends material if you keep it with these Star Wars books. So this is the sequel to the first Thrawn novel from a couple of years ago, and yeah, I really enjoyed the first book, so I thought I'd check out this one as well. The premise of this one sounds quite intriguing. From what I can understand, it seems as though Thrawn is teaming up with Darth Vader, which I don't know whether or not they will quite get along, but obviously we shall see with the book. And a book that is Legends material. I didn't get this for Christmas, but I'm just throwing it in there since it's just an excuse to talk about it, I suppose. The Star Wars novel by James Luceno, Darth Plagueis, which is no longer considered canon to the current canonical Disney era of Star Wars as it stands. This is now considered Legends material, along with quite a lot of other stuff. This is the Star Wars novel timeline as it's worded. And yeah, it's honestly quite a shame to see a lot of these books basically scrapped, which I'm kind of intrigued really to go back to this, especially having now seen what has become of the sequel trilogy, that is for sure. So I'm intrigued to go back and check out quite a lot of these books, but this one I just picked up quite cheap on eBay. Not in the best condition, as you can see, but still obviously readable. And yeah, aside from Darth Plagueis just being a meme at this point, I was just more intrigued to see what the sort of backstory was between him and, of course, Darth Sidious himself. So that is the Darth Plagueis novel. Next up we have some t-shirts along with some Lego, which I'm combining into the same set of video clips thanks to this. This is what they term as a Lego Bricktober pack. In America around October, the Lego company seems to launch as promotional items some little 4-packs of Lego figures, which I've only got one of, funnily enough, which was the Avengers Infinity War version from 2018, which had some great figures of the Winter Soldier, Iron Man, Wong, etc. But this one is obviously Jurassic Park themed. I say Jurassic Park themed because we have our first proper figure of Ian Malcolm, disregarding the one that came in the massive £250 Park Gate and T-Rex set. which I would love to own at some point. But this was a great excuse to get hold of Ian Malcolm, along with Bryce Dallas Howard's character. I forget her name. I think it was Claire. Owen, and which I feel kind of cheapened out with. They decided to fill the last figure in with a baby dino and a chicken leg. But other than that, this is a really great collectible figure pack, which I believe all of these are new Lego prints, apart from the dino, which makes it a little bit more exclusive. And this this was normally £20, but came free of charge if you purchased a Jurassic Park t-shirt from Zavi. So I picked this design up, which I think is probably one of the most iconic moments from the first movie. The rest of them were unfortunately just Hawaiian shirts based on Dennis Nedry's shirt from the movie, which I liked the look of, but some of them were just littered with Jurassic World logos, which didn't really seem appropriate. But I thought this one was quite tasteful, so I decided to pick that one up. And along with that shirt, I also picked up a Kid Robot one from Zavi as well at the same time. Which is the 10th anniversary Dunny shirt, which I thought was great looking overall. So there's a Kozak style Dunny there, and then on the back, celebrating the 10-year anniversary, is one of the Labbit figures eating a cake and farting, which is great. And speaking of Lego, we have yet even more Star Wars stuff. This is the Ultimate Collector Series Yoda Lego figure, which is a buildable figure in the same nature as the Porg, which I got last year, and the BB-8 from the year before, so I'm honestly making sort of a yearly tradition out of collecting these buildable Star Wars characters. This is one that at first I wasn't too keen on, but I did see it on display in the Lego store. And the fact that you could actually change the eyes was something that I really thought was quite nifty about it. So I'm overall quite glad I've got this. Obviously, I'm still yet to build it and still yet to find somewhere to display it after I've built it. But I'll definitely put this one on display with my other two Star Wars buildable figures. I still need to get the R2-D2, which came out in 2012, if I'm not mistaken. And there is a Dio figure from Star Wars Episode 9 planned as well, as from what I've seen from some Lego leaks. So it's definitely going to be an interesting year to get more of these LEGO Star Wars buildable characters, that's for sure. I also picked up the AT-ST Raider, which is something I was very much looking forward to getting hold of after finishing the first season of The Mandalorian. Which this set is based on the 4th episode of The Mandalorian, which was directed by Bryce Dallas Howard, funnily enough, which I really enjoyed her directing style for this particular episode, and the Lego set is a great representation of the AT-ST Raider being such a huge danger, and is very in proportion to the scale of the characters in the series. I also made my own custom Lego minifigure of IG-11, who is in scale with characters such as Mando, and I really wish Lego had actually included a Lego minifigure of this character in some set in some form or another. Obviously it wouldn't be appropriate in the AT-ST set, but hopefully in the near future we will get him along with the Baby Yoda figure. A couple of other sealed sets. We have this 20th anniversary edition of the Imperial Dropship, which comes with an exclusive version of Han Solo. And you can collect, of course, all the 20th anniversary sets, which I have done, funnily enough, including the Slave 1 to get Princess Leia, which I got on a great Black Friday deal quite a while ago on Amazon. But yeah, that's all 5 of the collectible figures from this wave of Star Wars sets. And there is also an Obi-Wan Kenobi promotional figure available, which I'm still yet to get hold of, but I certainly will try my best to get hold of that one to complete the set of 6. So that is the Imperial Dropship. I also picked up the Lego SpiderMan Far From Home Molten Man Battle, which I got for only £12.50 on Amazon when the retail for this, I believe, was £25. And I thought £12.50 was a great deal for some of these exclusive figures, such as Spider-Man and Mysterio, which came, I think, in each of the Far From Home Lego sets, so it was great just to get an opportunity to get hold of Mysterio himself. And everyone's favourite character, Generic Fireman #1. And from modern Spider-Man, we go back to classic Tobey Maguire style Spider-Man in this Lego Spider-Man 2 set all the way from 2004, which this set I was very, very happy to get hold of on eBay. Unfortunately, it was used, but it was in fantastic condition, and the price was only £5 for this, which is unbelievable. Normally this set goes for about £60 used, if I'm not mistaken, so this was just an absolutely unbelievable bargain, and I'm very glad to have this in the Lego collection. So this, of course, is based on the train scene from the latter end of Spider-Man 2, which is my favourite of the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man films. And there's the depiction of Doc Ock in Lego form, which I think looks absolutely fantastic with the tentacle arms. And the Tobey Maguire version of Spider-Man, who looks great as well. And this set is jam-packed with a couple of nice little additions. We have a train driver along with, weirdly enough, a Lego minifigure of J. Jonah Jameson himself, which I did not expect to actually come in this set, but there you go, there's an image of him. And this set does have quite a nifty little action feature, which I do kind of miss from my childhood. So what you do is you basically have this set up on one side, and on the other side we have some barricades and some spider webs, and it's supposed to recreate the scene where Spider-Man stops the runaway train, and all you need to do is mash it through. It does work quite well. Obviously you're supposed to have the train go out of control and then stop with the spider webs, so it does work. I just think it would be a lot better if it could actually burst through the spider webs perhaps, but that's me critiquing a 14-year-old Lego set. Next up we have some vinyl figures from the good folks over at both Kid Robot and of course Funko as well. The first of which is the Futurama Robot Santa 6-inch vinyl figure by Kid Robot. This version is termed as the Nice Edition, countering the naughty version which was released as the Common, which had the Tommy gun and sort of the inverted sort of angry eyes. This one, obviously the eyes are different, and he comes with the Naughty and Nice Christmas list rather than the gun. And I do have the Toynami figure variation of the sort of angry evil robot Santa, so I thought I'd go for this one, just to counter things up and get something different for a change. And this one is limited to only 500 pieces, so I did import this directly from kidrobot.com, which certainly wasn't cheap by any stretch of the imagination. But with it being such a low piece count, I was actually kind of surprised it was still in stock with Kid Robot, with only, I believe it was roughly about 17 left in stock, since they do actually have a stock sort of checker on their website. So I don't know whether or not it's still in stock. If it is, that would be a miracle if anyone is after this guy. But I definitely recommend getting hold of him if you are a fan of Futurama. Definitely embodies the greatness of good old Robot Santa. So there you go, appropriate for the holiday season. Couple of blind box figures from South Park's second series of Kid Robot collectibles. So there is the characters you can collect from Series 2. I do have all of the first series, which I've had for a couple of years now. Those came out in 2011, I think, so it's quite a gap of time with the second series coming out in 2019. But there you go, some great rare figures in here, especially Buttface Kenny, which I really wanted. And I think Token is, funnily enough, the only mega rare one of 1 in 48. I would have liked Timmy, but the ones that I did get Jimmy, which I'm really glad I got Jimmy. He's one of my favourite South Park characters for sure. Comes with his little crutches, as is appropriate for the character, so that is fantastic. And I did get one of the Picture Day specific episode characters, and that is Kyle with his little afro, which is actually fluffy, so that is a really nice touch. It's sort of flocked to the touch, so nice little felt style texture. So yeah, overall great quality control on these to my surprise, and yeah, I'm definitely going to try and grab more of these in the near future to hopefully complete Series 2 at some point. Also picked up this little figurine of a Pea Cal, which is basically a send-up of the Playmobil style figurines. These came out in 2007 and really weren't that popular. They're designed by an artist called E-Boy, and I do have a couple of these, so I thought one more obviously wouldn't hurt, and this one is titled Roswell. And I just quite liked the sort of mixtures of colour and the lab coat design. And I also picked up these Christmas-themed dunnies. We have a Christmas pudding, a Rudolph reindeer, and a weird sort of party snow globe. So here's what the actual figures look like. I'll do them in that order. So here is the Christmas pudding by an artist called Kronk. I love how the dunny ears are now holly leaves on this one. Quite a creative design. Here is the Rise of Rudolph by Frank Kozik, one of my personal favourite Kid Robot style sort of urban vinyl artists. And yeah, some very interesting stuff with this one, although the hat unfortunately doesn't want to sit on top of his head. But that does have a little actual bell on it, which does make a noise. I don't know whether or not the camera will pick that up, but there you go. So that is Rudolph, and the last one, which is quite creative actually. It's a hollowed out dunny with sort of a weird Christmas tree design inside of it, along with a little sort of fluffy Santa hat. And it is an actual snow globe, so yeah, no water or anything inside of it, but you get the idea. Still represents the same thing. The weird thing with this one, though, is he does have a backwards arm, which is a factory error, so obviously he should have a right and a left arm. Looks as though with this one, he unfortunately has two right arms, but there you go. So that is the Dunny figures. Few Funko Pops now, which I'll try and speed through. So here is Hondo Ohnaka from Star Wars. The special thing about this one is that actually my brother went out to Orlando, Florida earlier in the year and picked this up for me as a surprise for Christmas. Well, there you go. So I'm really glad I got hold of this one since it is only obtainable at Galaxy's Edge over in Florida. So yeah, that was a really nice addition to the Star Wars pop figure collection. And he also brought back with him, which I did save, one of the thermal detonator style drink little bottles. So this is supposed to obviously be Coca-Cola, and I literally just kept hold of it for Star Wars' sake. So yep, that's another bit of memorabilia for the collection. Also picked up some figures from the new Disney Plus series, The Mandalorian. So we have IG-11 and Cara Dune here. So here they both are. I also have Queel, which I'll show in a second. I don't have the box for Queel. But there you go, there's IG and Cara Dune. And there is Queel as well, one of my personal favourite characters from the Mandalorian's first season. Also picked up this special edition figure of the Knight of Ren with the arm cannon, which I saw this in Tesco for £8, and I just thought for the sake of it I'll just bite the bullet. Don't know whether or not I'll collect all the Knights of Ren, they didn't really impress me in the movie, but yep, there you go, certainly an impressive figure and sculpt overall. And lastly, for Star Wars Pops, I picked up Cal Kestis and BD-1 from the new Jedi Fallen Order video game, which is fantastic, I would highly recommend checking it out. And there you go, I did modify this, I glued BD-1 to this little stand since he did not stand up when I removed him from the little black base that they seem to put all the Star Wars bobbleheads on just due to licensing issues with actually making them as proper figures. But there's Cal, overall quite a good sculpt, and I quite like the pose as well of the lightsaber. And there's a look, a good old BD-1 as well, which was definitely one of my favourite aspects of the game. Basically just upgrading him whenever was possible. There you go, there's a better look at him. Also picked up some Ricca Multi pop vinyl figures, so here is the Purge Suit Multi, which overall was definitely one that I was anticipating Funko to make. I'm surprised that actually took them so long to make this guy. Likewise with Purge Suit Rick, which I don't have as of yet, but I got Multi on clearance, so I thought it was definitely worth grabbing for the collection. And likewise with, from Season 4, the Shrimp Rick and Shrimp Multi figures from the premiere episode, which I thought was absolutely hilarious, especially the whole fascist ongoing joke. I thought that was very well done.
God damn it, when did this shit become the default?
So thanks for watching my Christmas haul video for 2019. I really hope you enjoyed. Happy New Year to all my fellow viewers and subscribers. As always, I really appreciate everyone tuning in this year and checking out my content. And hello to all the new subscribers that have joined recently. I hope you're enjoying the channel, and I'll be sure to keep uploading as regularly as I possibly can. So as always, be sure to leave a like down below. Let me know in the comments what you received for Christmas of 2019. And please subscribe down below for more upcoming videos.